Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about Luminosity makes big moves, 2024's first super major. You're also going to have Umabora on the same weekend. It's a very busy weekend for Smash Ultimate, and the seeding at this event isn't super well done if I'm being honest, but let's just talk about the projected real quick. You got Cola, Quid, Anathema, and Capitancito in 13th, Mudace, Pima, Wrath, and Shattuck in 9th. In 7th, you're going to have MK, Leo, and Meister. 5th is Riddles and Light. 4th is DeBuzz. 3rd is Tweek. 2nd is Spargo. And projected to win the entire thing is Sonics. So the top 16 is actually divided into 4 different parts of the bracket, and we're going to be going over all 4 parts of those brackets, starting off with our first top seed being Sonics, and he's definitely the heavy favorite to get through. He should be able to get through Dominator. He's had a lot of practice in the Mario matchup, and when we get to MK Big Boss, it's pretty interesting because last year at Let's Make Big Moves, you did have MK Big Boss making the upset over Sonics, but since then, that record has definitely been in Sonic's favor, and Rob isn't terrible in the Sonic matchup by any means, but it's definitely one that I would say Sonic wins, and you would expect Sonics to pull through here. And it's a similar situation to Quid. I don't think Sonics and Quid have ever played before, but Quid's level of play is just so high. He can definitely take out someone of Sonic's caliber, and I'm just assuming Quid's going to make it to here in the bracket. Jackal definitely could be Quid, but whenever Quid and Jackal play, it usually goes into Quid's favor, but also they have so many reps versus each other. This is kind of a wild card match, but let's say we do get Sonic's Quid, and it's a pretty similar situation to Sonic's MK Big Boss. I think Quid is good enough to win. I don't think Pokemon Trainer does super terrible versus Sonic, but it's not a winning matchup for the character, and you would expect Sonics to win this one, but don't give up in Quid completely. There's definitely a chance he makes a massive upset. And our other top seed is going to be Meister. His first opponent is likely going to be T3 Dom, and fighting low-tier specialists is always scary, especially when you're playing someone like T3 Dom. He is the best Richter in the world by a significant amount. I would say he's very good with this character, and he's going to be exploiting every single small trick that you don't know about Belmont. So if Meister does his homework, he should be fine because it's still Game Watch versus Belmont, but it's always a scary draw getting someone like Dom in your path. Then he's going to likely have Syrup, and presumably for Syrup to get to this point in the bracket, he's going to have to beat Monty, who's the best Game Watch in NA, so he's going to be well versed in the matchup. Now Syrup not going to be at full strength because Steve is unfortunately banned at this event, so it's going to be the Nest versus Game Watch, and I would expect Meister to win that matchup, but another really scary one for him. And then we're probably going to have Mudace. It could be Aaron as well because he's a very talented player. Definitely someone that could be someone of Mudace's caliber. But I'm going to say that Mudace ends up taking that one. And Meister Mudace, this is a very interesting matchup because matchup-wise, on paper, Meister should absolutely be winning this one. Arguably Peach's worst matchup. It is a very tough time. But Mudace has beaten Meister the last 2 times that they played, and I would assume that Mudace is also going to win this one, so this is a very rare example where we don't really care about the matchup. Yeah, it's bad for Peach, but Mudace, he's overcome it on a multitude of occasions, and I think he's going to do the same thing here. Our next top seed is going to be DeBuzz, and he's got a pretty tough bracket. His first 2 opponents aren't too bad in Stocktaker and Mystery. I would expect him to win both of those matchups. I will see Mystery can be a little bit scary, especially when he's playing at his best. Mystery just has this like extra hidden factor that he sometimes taps into where he's playing like the best player in the world. Goblin does it too sometimes, but even with Mystery playing at his best, the way that DeBuzz's forms in these past couple months, you would still expect DeBuzz to win that one, and then you're going to have DeBuzz versus either Cola or SkyJ. Now, Cola and SkyJ, they've only played once before, and it did go into SkyJ's favor because Cola, he's a fairly aggressive player, and SkyJ, he's going to love that because the biggest issue for SkyJ is actually getting in, closing a distance. He's on the Incineroar, not a very fast character. If Cola's going to do it for him, I mean, he's going to make the most out of every single opportunity that he gets, and I would favor SkyJ versus Cola, and depending on who wins that one, I think is going to be very important for this bracket because I would favor DeBuzz versus SkyJ. Even though DeBuzz did lose their last encounter, I feel like that's a bit of an abnormality. I would usually expect DeBuzz to come out on top there, especially, as I mentioned, the way he's been playing recently and the way that he's been using Rosalina to wall people out. I imagine it is a nightmare for Incineroar to get in, so if it's DeBuzz versus SkyJ, I would expect DeBuzz on top. If it's DeBuzz versus Cola, though, I would definitely favor Cola to win that one. That's arguably DeBuzz's worst matchup in Smash Ultimate, besides maybe MK, Leo, or Light, who actually is going to be fighting the winner of this. So again, it's an unfortunate bracket for DeBuzz, and Cola is definitely a very, very bad draw. So if Cola is able to beat SkyJ, expect him to go on a little bit of a run. Our next top seed is going to be Light, and this entire part of the bracket is dependent on this matchup right here, and that's no offense to the rest of the players. I just think it's a really important one. Light versus Webb JP. JP, the run back from Let's Make Moves Miami, where you did have Webb JP taking it, and I don't think Light was playing exceptionally well at that tournament, but Webb JP, he looked very good in the Fox matchup, and I'm sure Light has been practicing this. He's got Boyd as a practice partner as well, so that's one of the best players in the world you could have to work on the Sheik matchup, and I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say that he's able to win the run back quiz. We all know that Light does not like losing to people, so I'm sure he's been working on this one, and I say this matchup is so important is because I think Light's going to beat Smub. It's Fox Ridley. He better win. And then you're going to get Light versus Peanut, who has been playing exceptionally well recently. And I say it's going to be Peanut over MVD just because Mega Man Snake is a really tough match for Snake. At least in my opinion, I personally struggle with it. Maybe MVD doesn't as much so, but I would favor Light versus MVD and Peanut, especially Peanut. It is just a very bad matchup for Mega Man. He just gets so overwhelmed by Fox, and Light's the best player in the world at overwhelming people with Fox. So if Light's able to get this run back versus Webb JP, he should make it through on the winner's side. Moving on, our next top seed is going to be Spargo, and he's got a scary opponent here in Beastly. Beastly's just very good at this game. One of the best technical Diddy Kong players I have ever seen, and Diddy Kong does pretty well into Spargo's character, so possibility for an upset there, though. Of course, he would still favor Spargo. I would definitely expect Spargo to beat Big D. It's just a bad matchup for Ice Climbers. Then you're going to get Spargo versus either Capitancito or Karama. Now, Karama was pretty underseeded at this event. I'd probably switch him and Capitancito's seeding around. No offense to Capitancito, of course, very good player, but just not as proven as someone like Karama. And in this head-to-head, I would expect Karama to come out on top. I'm not going to lie to y'all and say that I'm the expert in B-Gunner matchups. If I had to guess, I would say that Mario does pretty well into B-Gunner. You definitely have the tools to abuse the character, but maybe Karama is kind of in a similar boat to me, not super familiar with the character, and he gets caught off guard because you need to have all your facts down if you're going to beat Capitancito. Not only is this guy very good with B-Gunner, he's just very good in general, but I'm going to give Karama the benefit of the doubt, say that he's able to win that one. And then we're going to get Spargo versus Karama, and this is a very interesting match. Usually goes back and forth. I'm going to give Spargo the benefit of the doubt because I've been doing that throughout the video, so I'm not going to change it here, but it is a very scary draw to get Karama. Definitely someone who could upset Spargo. Our next top seed is going to be MKLeo, and he should make it through on the winner's side. When I'm looking at this bracket, there's no characters here that I'm particularly worried about, specifically Mario. If he gets to Link, he's had a lot of experience versus Peach. He should be able to take that one, and if Wrath does manage to beat Lima, and we'll get to that in just a second, Leo managed to take a set versus Canet Watch the Throne. Even though he did eventually lose the run back, he's still showing proficiency in the matchup. Aegis is a pretty tough matchup for Sonic. I wouldn't think that Wrath would go Sora, but you can't get rid of that possibility either. And you did have Kameme beating Leo, though of course Kameme Sora is definitely on a different level. But even if Wrath on the Sora, on the Sonic, I think Leo should be able to pull through. When we get to Lima is when I do get a little bit more scared, but Leo was also very good versus Bayo in Smash 4, and we haven't really seen him versus the top level Bayos in this game, so it's kind of tough to say how good he'd be in Ultimate, but I assume a lot of that stuff is going to travel over. He's at least going to know how to SDI, which is a very important thing versus that character, but I would still expect Wrath to beat Lima. It's a tough matchup for Bayonetta, and in all of their offline sets, I think the most recent one was at Genesis Black, you did have Wrath beating Lima, so Lima could definitely beat Leo. I think that's a scary opponent, but I think Wrath is going to take him out for Leo, so he shouldn't have anything to worry about and should get into the top 16 winner's side. On to our final chunk of the bracket. Our first top seed is going to be Tweek. Will we see the Tweek Banjo? If I had to guess, probably not. It's a very high maintenance character that he's just started practicing, so I don't imagine he's going to whip the Banjo out, and even if he doesn't, I still think he's going to top 8 to the winner's side here, or top 16 to the winner's side, maybe a little bit of spoilers. His first opponent is likely going to be against Antimony, and Steve is banned at this event, so Antimony's probably going to be on Kazi, I believe, is his second best character, and you would favor Tweek to win that one. Then he's going to have either Dark Wizzy or Kobe. I think Kobe is potentially scary, but I would still favor Tweek versus both Dark Wizzy and Kobe. I don't say Dark Wizzy's that scary just because he has the Sephiroth, and I think the Diddy Kong could do work as well versus Mario. He's beaten Kurama in the past in Diddy Kong Mario, so I'm going to say that Tweek ends up winning that one. And then finally, you're going to have Tweek versus either Anathema or Tilde. I wouldn't be super surprised if Tilde ended up making this upset just because it's Rob. He can bully that character super hard, but Anathema is also really good at the matchups that Rob kind of struggles in, so we're going to have to see who wins that one. But regardless, I would expect Tweek to win both of those matchups. Tweek and Anathema played at the last Let's Make Big Moves, and it was a very competitive set, but you had Tweek take it. He's generally been pretty good versus Rob if they're not named Zomba, and Tilde Tweek, they haven't played a ton before, but Tweek is just generally really good versus Spaceys, and I don't think Falco's going to be an exception to that. And our final top seed is going to be Riddles. His first opponent is likely going to be Show, which I will say is a bit of a scary draw. He's just a very skilled player on a very unorthodox character that kills you in one hit. He's playing Meta Knight, for anyone wondering. I guess he could play Game & Watch as well, but regardless of who he plays, I would still expect Riddles to win it, but still a little bit scary. Then you're going to have Riddles versus likely Yuno, and we have seen Nito beating Riddles in the past. He's very good at the Kazuya matchup, but in their more recent encounters, Riddles has been coming out on top, so you would favor Riddles in that one. Then you're going to have Riddles versus either Shattuck or Beast Mode Paul. Now, Beast Mode Paul versus Riddles, I could definitely say Beast Mode Paul taking that upset. Side B is just a nightmare for Kazuya. He's a really tough time dealing with that move. In specific, I wouldn't be surprised if the Terry came out in that matchup, but Shattuck is probably going to beat Beast Mode Paul just because in the grand finals of Santa Paw, Shattuck beat Beast Mode Paul pretty hard there, so unless Beast Mode Paul does make some adaptations, you would expect Shattuck to win that one. And I also think that Shattuck is going to beat Riddles. Korn is just his like solution character to the problems of Smash Ultimate. She does so well versus all of the relevant characters in this game, and Kazuya is one of them. I wouldn't be super shocked if we saw Riddles bringing up the Terry here, but Shattuck's form recently has just been exceptional, and I haven't seen as much from Riddles, so maybe I'm doubting him a little bit, but I'm going to say that Shattuck makes the upset. We have arrived at the top 16, and we're just going to be doing the projected seeding as per usual. And as I mentioned at the start of the video, I don't think the seeding was particularly amazing for this tournament. The winner's side honestly isn't that big of a deal, but I wanted to give a couple shout outs to players that I think should have probably been seeded for the top 16. So I've taken 2 players from every single qualifying category here, and I just given them a quick shout. You got Aaron and MK Big Bros from the Sonics Meister group. You got SkyJ Webb JP from the Light to Buzz group. You got Karama Lima from the MK Leo Spargo group. I think these guys are especially going to make it through. And you got Tilde Beast Mode Paul from the Tweek and Riddles group. If you see any of those players in the top 16, you shouldn't even bat an eye because they absolutely deserve to be in there. And no disrespect to any of these players as well. I can easily see all of these players getting into the top 16. There's just a couple people I probably would have put over them. So let's actually dive into this thing. You're going to have Sonics versus Meister as our first matchup in the winner's side, and you would heavily favor Sonics to win this one. He has been beating Meister on pretty much all of their recent encounters. Now, they haven't played in a little bit, so maybe it goes differently, but you would favor Sonics to win that one. Then you're going to have DeBuzz versus Light. It's pretty much the exact same thing, except they have played recently, and Light has been winning literally all of their encounters. Now, to DeBuzz's credit, he managed to take his first set on Light post-quarantine pretty recently. It was at the Invitational, and even though he lost in the Grand Finals twice, he is showing that it can be done. Is it going to be done? Probably not. Light's probably going to win, but you can't rule the buzz out 100%. Then you're going to have Spargo versus MK Leo. This is another one that we've seen a couple times recently, and Spargo has just been coming out on top. Leo's beaten Spargo in the past. Is it impossible? No, but I'm going to say that Spargo takes it. And our final matchup is going to be Tweek Riddles. This one is not as clear as the other three because there's clear favorites for the other 3 matchups. This one I think is a lot more of a coin toss. I would still give it to Tweek just because I think Diddy Kong has some tools to be able to deal with Kazuya. You're just able to play outside of his space, not have to worry about him hitting you as much, which is obviously the only thing you got to worry about with Kazuya, because it's not like he's going to be doing some crazy stuff to catch you off guard. He's going to be going for the electric. You know exactly what he wants, and you just got to avoid it. And Diddy Kong is definitely a character that can avoid that. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Riddles on the Terry as well, but as I mentioned, I think Diddy Kong has the tools to be able to compete with these FGC characters, both up close and from afar, and I'm going to say that Tweek ends up taking it. I should also mention that if Mutace was to actually beat Meister, I would expect Sonics to beat Mutace. And if Shattuck was to beat Riddles, I would expect Tweek to beat Riddles. So it doesn't really change my winner's side top 8. On the loser side, you're going to have Mutace versus Cola, and they have a lot of sets versus each other. They're always going back and forth. In their more recent encounters, Mutace is going to come out on top. He won at Battle of BC, and he won at Poor Priority, so I would expect him to do the same thing here, but it's not a great matchup for Peach. It's just one that Mutace is very, very good at, so I'm going to say that Mutace wins that one. Then you're going to have Peanut versus Quid. I have no idea how this is going to go. I have no idea who Mega Man Pokemon Trainer favors. If I had to guess, it's probably slightly in Peachy's favor just because Squirtle is really, really annoying and you're still going to have that Ivysaur cheese. And I'm going to give Quid the benefit of the doubt because I always give him the benefit of the doubt. That guy's just so, so good. But I genuinely have no idea who's going to win that one. Then you're going to have Wrath versus Anathema. And I'm going to say that Wrath takes it. As I mentioned earlier on with Sonics versus MK Big Boss, it's just not an amazing matchup for Rob. It's not an unwinnable matchup by any means. And Anathema is really good at the bad matchups for Rob, but it's Sonic. And it's really hard for me to bet against Sonic, so I'm going to say Wrath wins that one. And then finally, you're going to have Shattuck versus Capitancito, and this is pretty similar to the other conversations we've had around Capitancito. Me Gunner, not a great character. If you're not ready for Capitancito, he is going to destroy you. I'm going to assume that Shattuck has been looking at his bracket. He's been preparing. He's ready for Capitancito, and he's going to take this set. But if Shattuck hasn't done his homework, it's not going to be fun. Editing proof block here, looking at this matchup chart from Quid, even though it is a little bit old, as well as a couple Mega Man matchup charts, they generally do have Pokemon Trainer in the winning tier for Mega Man, so slightly losing for PT. That's not going to change my answer, but a little bit more backing behind Peanut there. In our next round of losers, you're going to have Riddles versus Mutace as our first matchup, and the record is 3-1 overall for Mutace, and I would expect him to win this one. As I mentioned earlier on when I was talking about Tweek versus Riddles, Kazuya is just a character where you know exactly what Kazuya wants. He's going to electric, Mutace is going to perfectly space outside of that electric, and then he's going to do some turn-out combo and just kill Riddles at 0, and I feel like that's probably going to be how the set goes. Maybe the Terry comes out and he's able to overwhelm Mutace. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if that's the route that Riddles ends up going down, but it takes a lot of work to overwhelm Mutace, and I'm going to say that he ends up taking it. Then you're going to have MK Leo versus Quid. We get our run back from Collision, and it's another situation where I really have no idea who is going to win this one. Quid is just such a difficult player because we very rarely get to see him, and we very rarely get to see Pokemon Trainer. Pokemon Trainer is a very good character, but not a very popular character, so we don't have any other references from other PT players that Leo's played recently because they just don't exist, and I'm going to say that Quid takes it just because I've seen Leo's form recently. It hasn't been great, and I haven't seen Quid's form, so that means it's probably really, really good, or at least I'm going to trust that it's really, really good. Then you're going to have DeBuzz versus Wrath, and I've said it before, I'll say it again, very difficult to out DeBuzz. DeBuzz isn't impossible, no, but I'm going to say that DeBuzz wins that one. And then you're going to have Meister versus Shattuck. Now, it is worth noting that the only time Meister has ever beaten MK Leo, it was versus the Corrin. I'm still going to say that Shattuck wins it because Corrin Game Watch is just a good matchup for Corrin, and Shattuck is pretty good at it. But Meister, he's clearly had some reps in that matchup that are going into his favor, so maybe not as easy as I'm predicting. Editing proof block here, so it should be noted that Wrath did manage to 3-0 DeBuzz at the Coinbox IRL. Now, I don't think DeBuzz is playing super well at that event, and I'm going to give DeBuzz the benefit of the doubt again because that's what I love doing, but just something to be noted. Back to the winner's side, you're going to have Sonics versus Light and Spargo versus Tweek. Now, Sonics Light, I would definitely favor Light to win this one. They haven't played in quite some time, and Sonics has been doing amazing, whereas Light hasn't been doing as well, but it's not like Light's been doing bad. He's still a top 10 player in the world, and that matchup is not a fun one for Sonic, so I'm going to say that Light ends up winning that one, and then we're going to have Spargo versus Tweek, and y'all know the drill at this point. I've talked about Spargo Tweek so many times, and I'm going to give Tweek the benefit of the doubt here just because I gave Light the benefit of the doubt. America needs a win real bad, and this is the tournament where they're going to get it. In the loser side, you're going to have Mutace versus Quid and DeBuzz versus Shattuck. Mutace Quid, the only time they played was at Let's Make Big Moves 2022, the one that Quid ended up winning, so I don't really have a ton to go off here, and I'm going to say that Mutace ends up winning this one. I'm going to stop giving Quid the benefit of the doubt, and I know if I say that phrase one more time, people are going to murder me, so I will stop, but Mutace's form really has been exceptional. Quid's going to have to play like he was at Let's Make Big Moves 2022 to get past Mutace. Not saying that's impossible. I think it's very possible. Let's go Quid. But Mutace should be able to take that one. Then you're going to have DeBuzz versus Shattuck. And DeBuzz has beaten Shattuck 4 times, and they have played 4 times. But every single set, it is getting closer and closer. And I mean literally, it was a 2-0 their first set, then it was a 3-0, then it was a 3-1, then it was a 3-2 at Let's Make Moves Miami. So maybe this time it's the one that DeBuzz actually ends up falling and Shattuck gets his first win over him. Statistically, it's like he kind of should win because he's been winning a game every single time. So maybe the numbers are actually telling me to go with Shattuck, but I'm going to go with the guy with the 4-0 record. In the losers' quarters, you got Sonics versus Mutace and DeBuzz versus Spargo. For Sonics Mutace, definitely a tough draw for Mutace. Mutace, I mean, he has to destroy his hands every single set, but they're going to be especially destroyed if he's going to be able to take it past Sonics, because every single time he hits this guy, he's going to have to 0 to death. It is just a very tough matchup for Peach. Is it impossible because Mutace conversions have been so good lately? No, but probably not going to happen. And then DeBuzz versus Spargo. We've already talked about this earlier on in the video. Sometimes DeBuzz just has players where he's been losing to them consistently. He's been able to overcome it like he did with Light. Maybe this is the time that he overcomes Spargo, but probably not. We've got our top 4, Light versus Tweek in the winner's side and Sonic Spargo in the loser's side. And y'all have heard me say it a million times. Light Tweek, very coin flippy matchup. You're going to have Tweek winning their last encounter at Watch the Throne, and because of that, I'm going to say that Light ends up taking it, because clearly he did not want to lose that set out of Watch the Throne. It took him out of the entire weekend, maybe some other external factors as well, but I imagine Light has just been absolutely grinding. This guy does not like to lose. I'm sure he has been mega preparing for this event, and I think it's going to pay off and land him a spot in the grand finals. For Sonics versus Spargo, has Spargo's Corrin had enough practice? Is the Spargo Corrin ready? If the Spargo Corrin's ready, I think he's going to be able to beat Sonics, but I don't think the Corrin's ready, and without the Corrin, I would favor Sonics to win this one. He's just figured the character Aegis out. I'm not saying he's figured out Spargo's Aegis, because Spargo can definitely still beat him with Aegis, but Sonic has just such a flowchart on the Aegis offstage game that it is very difficult for this character to actually win this matchup, and it's the exact same thing with Cloud. It only took him like 1 week, but Sonics feels like he's got Spargo's 2 characters on lock. For now, maybe I'll be proven wrong, or maybe the Corrin will come out and Spargo will take the set, but I'm going to say that Sonics ends up winning this one. Then you're going to have Tweek versus Sonics. Now, they haven't played in quite some time, and they're 2 very slow players, but Sonic is just a character that is better at playing the slow game than you are, so I'm going to say that Sonics ends up winning this one, but I'm honestly not super confident between him and Tweek. And then in the winner's side of grand finals, you're going to have Light. Loser side, you're going to have Sonics, and we've all heard this story many times before. Light usually win this one. I'm going to say that Sonics has been working very hard in the matchup, because I still imagine that he has, and he manages to reset the bracket, but Light ends up winning it, the first ever non-tri-state player to win a Make Big Moves event, or at least a Let's Make Big Moves event. And I thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. The sport has been absolutely unreal as of late. We're still getting back into the swing of things, and if I left out your favorite player, got something wrong, or if you just want to say hi, leave a comment down below. Be sure to sub while you're down there, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye!